Patti is as serious as I wanted her to be right off the bat, making her return. But I think it's her first time on the Twitch version of the show. Patti Shales Lefkos, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to see you again. I think
Yeah,
your podcast, Joshing, was the first time I was ever on a podcast. And here I
sweet.
am back again. And like I've been on 20 or 30 now. It's really fun.
I hope mine was the most fun. I hope mine was the most fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Always.
absolutely.
Yes.
And you say that to every guest. You're the best, right? No,
Yeah,
you're the best.
exactly.
Right? But no, I get it. But it's definitely when you get the hang of it, it's actually a lot of fun. It depends on the show. Some shows are super fun to do. Some shows are, and I'm not really like some of them are feel painful. It depends on how obviously I have a bias. I like free flowing structure because of the nature of my show. But
Mhm.
but and I don't mind format shows either, but I like them when they're shorter. And
Yeah.
long format shows are, to me, the absolute worst, right? They're just
Yeah.
like, ugh, I can't talk. I have to be a robot. I'm gonna parrot this
Well,
out.
because there's no surprises that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Whereas
No
this one,
spot.
I might just randomly talk about, I don't know, glitter, Twitter, a bit, I don't know, just whatever else comes to my head.
Glitter. Did you say glitter?
Yeah,
That was my motto when I was a teacher. You can never have too much glitter. Kids love it in elementary school.
yeah. Well, and once you got it, you can't get rid of it anyway. So you might as well just embrace it, right?
And precisely. Yes.
Yeah. So since we last talked, I'm in Alberta again
Yeah, you're in Canmore, right?
for another 5 days, and then I'm going back to Calgary.
Oh. Oh, you are. Oh, too bad.
I trust me, I am so sad. I am
Yeah.
so I'm literally okay. So right this minute, looking at my door, I see a mountain. Literally, I'm
Yeah.
in the mountains. There's like
Yeah.
deer that comes up off the street I'm at right now. I'm
Hmm.
going to miss it. Like I'm going to be looking at the mountains in Calgary,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna be like, why am I here? But the reason I'm going back is twofold. First is, for at least the time being, Canmore is still a little too expensive for me.
Hmm.
Since we last talked,
Yeah.
since we last talked, I have broken. I can make now regularly 4 figures as a freelancer, that's pretty cool. I've done it.
That's excellent.
Yeah, but I'm not at the point where it's steady yet, right?
Mm.
So I have to get, quote unquote, a real job. And by real job, I mean Wendy's. I don't even need a serious gig. I just need
Yeah. Yeah.
something steady to keep money coming in while I keep going down this path. Inevitably, the job I just got a job. I literally was in Calgary last night. I got my first of 2 gigs. It's literally the easiest job I've ever gotten. Like, it's the easiest job I'm ever going to do. It's super easy, and it's like, cool. I need now like one more like this and I'm good. And right, there's not a lot of hours, but you don't have to do a lot of work. So, and
Hmm.
again, I'm at that point in my life where I don't want to kill myself working for somebody. Does that make sense?
Totally. You have done so much since last talked to you.
Yeah.
You've got so many great opportunities you've made for yourself.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. I've really loved watching what's happening with you, and I love your positive messages that you put out on Facebook, and some of those mornings when I'm like, really, like, oh God, I'll never get this book finished or whatever, and you come up with one of your little positive things, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
great,
actually,
and you have not given up. You've gone ahead. It's fantastic.
why would I give up? I've come too far. There's such a thing
Yeah,
as being like pot committed. I'm pot committed,
yeah, yeah.
right? There's no going, I'm going to make it because I've given myself no choice but to make it,
Yeah.
right? I've been published in magazines. I did a like a YouTube vlog show for a immigration company. I'm going to be
Nice.
doing, yeah. It was cool. It was a corporate challenge. Could I do a corporate driven show? Yes, I can. I can know
Mhm,
how to do it. And now I'm
mhm,
doing another show later in the summer. It's a massage therapy show, helping my friend kind of build up her reputation. And I've started like a video advertising business for authors, just basically because
mhm,
most authors suck at talking about themselves, and I'm good at building people
mhm.
up. So why not see if I can make money doing it?
You are. Yeah, you are. You are very good at it. Yeah. But
Yeah.
no,
So that
I really am impressed with what you're doing, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah. And the last thing I mentioned, the reason why I mentioned glitter, so I got a kick. So my first short story published ever is actually going to be in a Kickstarter next month. For like there's a collectible card game called Magic the Gathering. So if you've
Hmm.
seen the cards, sometimes artists will come and do alterations on cards. So
Hmm.
I took this like all powerful dragon and he got altered and it was the glitter that set him off. He's like, I am not going to take this anymore and I'm going to become my own card all over again. It's like one of the silliest stories I've ever written, but it's getting published. And my first illustration is, which I got to hand into him Saturday, is yeah, I'm having my first illustration published in a magazine too. It's kind of scary.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've got a sign on my desk, by my desk. I keep here all the time. Proceed as if success is inevitable. You know,
Yes.
you just do something new. Like I try and do something every day for either writing or marketing, and it doesn't have to take all day. Like today, you know, refined a podcast pitch for my new book, right? And then I'll work on it again tomorrow, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I just try and keep the momentum going, keep doing something new every day, something different, and something that scares me. And lots of things do, but you got to get out there and do it. You know.
So my theory, so I've learned a lot of lessons in the last few years, but the one I think that I've kind of put into my head, it was my way of dealing. I'm not saying COVID wasn't serious. That's not what I'm saying, but I will say that there is. How do I put this? The media does what they call fear porn. There's almost
Mm-hmm.
right. There's a lot of like that perpetrated when you watch television. Like, oh my god, this could happen. This could happen. This could happen. This could
Mm-hmm.
happen. So I decided to kind of invert fear. I realized that fear for most of us is actually a door to what we really want. It can be a prison if you stay still, but if you can actually go forward in the fear, it actually takes you to exactly where you want to go. So my whole theme for the last is why I started drawing. Fear is a door. What you really
Mm-hmm.
want's on the other side of it. So you have to face your fears, whatever they are.
Good. That's good. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Because it's true. Like for most of us, if we're really being honest, we want to do the things that scares us a little bit. There's a unknown factor to it. Like there's like we don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen, but that's what makes life interesting. It's not that when it's safe, it's when it's a little dangerous. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not that's just human nature. Like the world is a danger. I mean, the world can be as beautiful as those mountains are. And it's winter here. It's fucking cold and being trapped in one of them can kill you. But that's what makes it interesting. It can kill
Mm-hmm.
you, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're a little crazy that way, but that's how we're wired, right? If it
Yeah.
was, if it's not dangerous, there's no appeal to it at all.
Yeah. And it's your definition of danger. Like I was when I first started freelancing, I was really my hands would shake when I, send off a pitch or a query to a magazine. And then it got that I was really afraid to do the first book, and what would happen if I put it out there and it wasn't good, or there are too many typos, or what would people think, all of that. And now I've got the second one done, and then I had to go on podcasts and do that kind of thing, and that really scared me.
You were scared of
But
me?
no, just being on screen, I think, it was scary. But the same as when I was an inner city principal, I did not like to speak at school board meetings, but I had to because I felt that I had to speak. If I didn't speak up for some of those kids and families and what they needed, maybe other people wouldn't.
Mhm.
And so I put myself forward. It's much easier to speak for other people. So, with my first book, the Nepal book, the funds are going to education in Nepal. So it's much easier to know that I'm not just selling myself, I'm selling the idea. Because as you said, lots of authors, you don't want to sell yourself. You don't want to put yourself forward. That's hard. We're so quiet and insular as writers. And then when we have to step out and do some marketing, it made it easier for me to know I wasn't just speaking for myself, that I'm speaking for a cause, kind of,
It,
you know.
it's true. Okay, I have a big ass mouth. I'm good at it, but even I don't like talking about myself. Like, right? It's not, but I'm comfortable with it. More comfortable with it
Yeah.
because I have to. right? If I don't say that my show is awesome or my book is great or my comic is good or my illustrations rule
Yeah.
or whatever it is I'm doing, if I don't say it, no one's going to believe it, right?
Who's going to? Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So you gotta like. So for me, my solution was professional wrestling. That was my
Mhm.
solution. Um,
Was
my
what?
favorite
Perfect.
professional wrestling. So
Yeah.
so this sounds dumb, but back in the late '80s, they used to do a segment where Mean Gene Okerlund would interview wrestlers about their upcoming matches. My
Yeah.
favorite was the Macho Man Randy Savage.
I have no idea.
You probably have seen the Macho Man. Do you ever remember those old Slim Jim commercials where you just say, "Here, that guy go, that beefy hunky spice." Ooh, yeah, that there was a guy that actually did that. That he's the Macho Man, and he would do
Okay.
interviews. He would do interviews with and thing is, he made millions of dollars getting people to come out of their house, the comfort of their own home, to go to an arena, buy obnoxiously overpriced food, to watch him get his ass kicked by somebody yet somehow still pull it off. That was him in the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, so professional wrestling is like the dumbest thing ever. It's grown men in tights, fake fighting isn't quite right, but it's
Yeah.
choreographed, right? It's
Mhm. Yeah.
choreographic, it's choreographed fighting. So you have that going on. And you're like, okay, that's absurd. But then when you watch these guys talk about their matches or their story, and if they're really into it, they believe it. There's an element of
Mhm.
belief, and when they suspend their disbelief, you do too. And I realized that,
Uh, mhm.
right? And I realized that honestly, what marketing is essentially that it's storytelling. If I can get you to suspend your disbelief that hey, I got this great book, and you're like, oh shit, he's selling me something. Okay, how do I put it on a front face? But if I can
Mhm.
somehow get your attention and say, hey, what if Alice is Pandora and she opens a box and gets the cat inside her? So you're like, I'm
Mhm.
into this. Maybe you're like, no, absolutely not. You can't talk me into this. But some people are like, wait, what? Okay, what's it about? Now I got now
Yeah.
I got your attention. So
Yeah.
now I can actually try to persuade you to buy it. Now, maybe I don't succeed. It doesn't always happen, but that's not the point. That's the idea. Like you're trying to persuade people to listen to your message. And I think that, and of all people, the audience, the people with the most practice at it, ironically enough, are professional wrestlers. Yes, they're threatening to kick your ass. They're kicking somebody's ass at this particular time. If you don't show
Yeah.
up, you're going to miss it. But if you really sit there and think about it, they're telling a story. They're telling a story about why they're doing that. Like, why should I care about this fight? And if there's a good enough
Mm.
reason, I'm in. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
who you are. I'm in, right? It's a story.
Well, it's like, and not professional wrestling, but legit fighting. It's like Muhammad Ali
Yeah.
was
No, Muhammad Ali did
the
it. He did it
master
all the time.
marketer storyteller. Have you seen that latest film, a documentary about him? It's fantastic.
Not yet.
About,
No.
oh, it's really well done, and that's exactly what it's like. It's
Yep.
he's out
And
there selling. He's selling himself big time,
mhm.
uh,
Oh yeah,
in an engaging and funny way.
he was entertaining, but he was also good.
Yeah.
Like here's the thing
Yeah.
about Ali was you kind of wanted to see someone kick his ass, but he's so good. He was so good, especially in like until he met until the draft, and he had to when he
Yeah.
got kicked out, he was almost
Hmm.
untouchable. Like he
Yeah.
was so good in the ring. The Muhammad Ali that came back after that 4 years, he was still good, but he was not as good as the guy that was in there 4 years prior, right?
Yes, and
Yeah.
that's certainly discussed in the documentary, but well loved forever.
Oh no. He changed the culture. He changed
Yeah.
the perception of black athletes. I mean his impact there cannot be overstated.
Yeah.
And he's still most people consider him still the greatest fighter of all time. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's actually true, but the impact he made is undeniable, right? So that's but to tie it back to professional wrestling just a little bit, he used to watch a
Mhm.
wrestler called Gorgeous George back in the
Oh, I remember
50s.
Gorgeous George with the
Yes.
blonde curly hair.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Ali stole his promo style from Gorgeous George.
Oh, interesting. I guess
Yeah.
I didn't don't think I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because there's something to that. Again, there's something in the confidence in talking about yourself in a way
Yeah.
that's entertaining that
Yeah.
people enjoy. They might still
Mhm.
think you're full of shit, but they might but
Yeah.
but but if it's entertaining enough, they'll go along with it. Like, I
Yeah.
still think you're full of crap, but at least you're entertaining about it, right? And that's
Yeah. Well, that he was. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm not saying and again, you don't need to be that obnoxious. Like I'm that obnoxious, but you don't need to be that obnoxious. You just have to be sincere, right?
Yes.
You have to
Yeah.
be sincere, and
That,
that's really
that I'm. That I am. Yeah.
yeah. No,
I
like
think. I think people know that with me. I think. I don't know. Somehow they believe me. That I mean, that I
because
the things that I'm writing about are true. They're part of me. They're individual, but they're universal themes as well, and people
Mhm.
can relate to that. You know.
Oh, totally. No, no. The thing about you, this is the thing. You're not the loudest person. And I'm sorry about that. That's on me. Blame people like me for that. But and at least I got you entertained. Like I've had you laughing quite a few times on this episode so far. At least chuckling, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're sincere, and you're confident. The thing about you, the thing when I listen to your cadence is you're not shy. It's not that you're shy. You're not necessarily the first person to speak, but you're the person when you do speak, you're sure of what you're speaking. And there's a conviction in how you speak, and people pick up on that.
Well, thank you. That's what I used to say about one of my best friends. We
Mhm,
would sit in school board meetings or,
mhm.
superintendent's meetings, whatever, at the Vancouver School Board. And, they'd go on for an hour. And then at the end, she would open her mouth and sum up the most important things about the meeting and what we should do next. And she hadn't said a word the whole time. Such a gift, brilliance. I
Well,
don't,
yeah,
I don't aspire to be quite like that, but yeah, it's
it's not. I
I've
wouldn't
learned that if I don't speak up for what I believe in, it's not nothing's going to happen. You got to
exactly.
put yourself out there and do it
And
in
like I said,
writing or speaking.
yeah, you might be more comfortable writing. Pardon me. You might
Oh,
be more comfortable.
definitely.
Yeah, you might be
Yeah.
more comfortable with that. But when I do listen to you speak, and when we talked last time, the thing that amazed me is like it wasn't again not the loudest, but there was there's a confidence in what you say. I believe you because that's why I believe you. You're authentic, right? Yeah, I don't know if you have your friends get the simplicity of cutting through. Okay, this is what this is about. Let's move forward. I don't know if you have that gift, but when you do say something, it's you've thought about it and you're sincere about it. And honestly, that in itself is huge. There's a lot of people that try to, um, that try to just say something for the sake of saying something, and
Yeah, there's a lot of that out there for sure.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I do it because I have time to. I have time I have to fill here because I could do. I've done as a one particular episode of my podcast back in my audio days. I actually left the 10 minutes in between going from one restaurant to the other on purpose just to see what the reaction would be. My one buddy loved it. So I just did it on purpose. I can do that,
Yeah.
right? It's my podcast, right? I can just have that fun. Now that it's like this, like now it's a more visual podcast. I can't quite do those things anymore. But
Yeah.
every once in a while, I still like messing around with the show. What is actually possible and what's impossible? Because again, that's just who I am. But I have to there has to be a level of engagement to something like this.
But that's
But
what keeps it interesting because you're
yeah,
willing to try those things.
absolutely.
You don't just go with one format. You're
No, I
you're
have
ready to try
no.
things and introduce new things, and that makes it more fun
Yeah,
and more
well,
interesting.
you need to even with you as a writer, when this is your second book. It's not the same as your first book. I mean, there's still a genuine. I'm telling my real life experiences.
Yeah,
Is
but it's
memoir?
quite different. Yeah.
Yeah, but hold on. I should ask this before I go down my little diatribe here. I don't feel memoirs quite the right word, but it's along the lines of what you're doing a little bit. Is that accurate to say?
Well, the first one's a travel memoir because it's
Yes.
a
Yeah.
a 3 month time
Mhm.
lapse. The next one is a quotes coming of age memoir. So it's from when I'm 0 to 13 years old on our family island without electricity. But what I did with this book is play with a new format. And there's another thing about, I was really afraid to do this, but I thought I'm going to give it a try. So there's 36 chapters. 18 of those chapters tell the story from the first year we were on our island camping, and the second and the third. But every second chapter, alternating in there, is a reflection from the present that is something about what happened then. It's hard to explain. So
No,
there's two time streams going through, and I was quite nervous about sending it out to first readers, beta readers. And so what I did was, so first chapter is in present tense, sorry, past tense, because it's the deep past. Second chapter is a reflection, it's in the present. So the first chapter, say, is about the first time we get out of the canoe and step onto the island and what it's like, that experience. My mom's afraid, blah, blah, blah. The second chapter is now I'm sitting in my brother's cottage and we find the picture of that day. And that's all in present tense. And how what happened in chapter 1 changed our lives and where we are in the reflection. Does that make sense?
No, it actually goes down a line of thinking I kind of wanted to go down with you anyway. And what's this? I look at my memories. I still have very vivid memories of when I was a kid, like because there's a lot of events that happened in my kid that were very memorable. One of my earliest memories is my mom had asthma and she nearly died. Right, so I have that memory. Oh yeah, I have that memory very, very, very much. It's still very strong.
How old were you?
I was 5. I was 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, you would remember it for sure.
Oh yeah. I think 4. I think nah. Hold on. I'm gonna make sure I get this right. No, I was 5. My sister was 4. I remember this because it was funny too. Because this is the story here. Is about a couple weeks before mom had her stop breathing. She told us what to do in the event she did stop breathing, and we did. Like we remembered to do it, and both of us.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we both remembered to do it. Here's the interesting. So, add to this really, really, really bizarre story. So, close friends of the family came in and took us in for a few days while my dad was on the road. And we found out he came back home to the hospital, out stuff, but that took a few days. So I'm at my buddy's house, and they're in Whitby, Ontario, and I fall into the pool and I nearly drown, like literally like a day or two later. So it's like I have my own little, not today anywhere the same. Oh yeah, like it's I had my own little. It wasn't to the same degree because I wasn't under for very long. It was just like I kind of get up. I couldn't get my footing, so I kept falling in. So I remember her name is Janice Lefkos. Janice, if you are still around out there, I still thank you for this day. She pulled me out of the water. Right? He's like, oh my God, because he had a heart attack. Right? Like, oh my God, what's he doing going in there? So I remember this, and what I remember about it is like you remember those things, but I don't remember it the same way now, right? I can look back, and I like the second one in particular, I can kind of look back with a little bit of a chuckle because I'm still here, right? But the first one, I still remember the terror, the horror. Oh my mom! I mean, I still remember I still remember the EMTs coming in, putting like the oxygen mask. I still remember the stretcher. I still remember all the things that happened when the ambulance came. I still remember all that stuff, and it doesn't hit me with the same feeling because I'm 40. This was a long time ago. I still have those feelings, but this is where I'm getting to you. They kind of feel a little bit like an echo. They're not dead. It doesn't mean like I don't remember. I don't those obviously the memory is powerful enough that I can still vividly recall it. But I don't feel it the same way. Which going to you, yeah, because there's a distance from it, right? There's a distance from it.
Well, and boy, my distance is way longer than yours.
That's my point. That's where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And that's actually one of the things I say in the first chapter. I look at that picture, and it's my brother and sister and mom and dad and I in this old canoe heading to the island. And I think, do I remember how much of that is what I've been told about the day? Do I remember sitting in the canoe? I'm two, where you can just see my head above the gunnels. Um, but a friend of mine who's a psychotherapist said that that is a sorry psychiatrist. There's a way we remember things, and when something happens in the present, that takes us right back there.
Mm-hmm.
And so something you might see that when you sit by a swimming pool, suddenly you might relive that. And there's one where I fell out of the canoe when I was little, where we actually flipped, and of course no life jackets. I couldn't swim. I was 3. My dad grabbed me and pulled me up and put me on top of the overturned canoe, and it was a very, very rough, windy day. So 60 years later, I'm out rowing my boat in the lake with one of my nieces whose mother was there that day, and it all comes back to me exactly because of the rough water and the way it happened. And then I can tell her the entire story.
Yeah.
Just because of the waves and But one of the things about writing too, about writing memoir, that I've learned in classes and at conferences and stuff, is that if you have photos, if you have items like could be a paddle, a pine cone, some smells. If you sit with those things, that's when things come back to you more clearly.
Yeah, no, because
there are ways to work on memoir that way. So it's really interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I know I know which periods in my life I do memoirs on, because they're actually ironically the ones, they're the ones where I remember going through the most growth, and usually they've come from the most uncomfortable of circumstances for me. That's me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. Like, you had a very unusual, no electricity for 13. You're not the only person I know that's actually done that.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And I got to say, it was summers only, right? This is
Yeah.
in the winter. We were in the Toronto suburbs. We were like the 50s family. Mom didn't work, dad did. We went to church, blah blah blah. It was all very 50s. No TV till I was, I don't know, 14. Dad didn't want to buy it. I don't think he had the money, but but we became, my brother and sister are 4 and 5 years older, so they were with their own friends, and I was the little kid. But when we were at the lake on the island, the 3 of us were together. There were no other children there for years and years and years, and it just gave. And there were no gender specific activities, whereas in the winter there were more. In the summer, we all paddled, we all swam, we all fished, we all caught frogs. Everything. Climbed trees, built forts. We did all those things. It didn't matter if you were a boy or a girl. So yeah, it made a huge difference in what I became. And plus, tenting for a while. That was very interesting.
Yeah.
We didn't even have an outhouse at first because there was so much bush on the island and nobody around. It didn't matter. We had this split log that my dad fashioned. He had been a canoe guide. He knew all this stuff. Oh my God. So many times I thought I'd fall in, and, scary. But, but you know what? I think of that when I go to Nepal and I have to use the squat toilets there. I mean, none of that's new to me, and that's just fine. So it's a real gift to have grown up that way, and known that I'm strong enough to do those things. It's no big deal.
Like I said, not comparing. I'm just being my usual obnoxious self. I've moved around a lot as a kid. It gave me a unique perspective on things, because I'm always kind of on the outside, right? I'm always a little bit on the outside, because you go to a city. Let's say I lived in Toronto for like a year or two, right? Then I would go to London, Ontario. Sometimes some of the developments between both cities are actually very similar, but it's where they're at along the journey. Toronto might be at the point where, okay, so I could usually tell when, it got to the point when I was older, I could usually tell when a city was about to go through a depression or a tough time or a good time, because I was in cities that were going through a good time or not going through a good time. And because a lot of the same patterns are there. So I can see patterns very well. Flip side is
Mhm.
I did miss out on some things too, right?
Mhm.
But it gives me my perspective. It gives me my ability to find my own resiliency.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the thing. Like when you go outside this norm, what is called the norm, whatever that is for anybody,
Yeah.
right? You realize that normal. You just come to that realization that normal is a very relative term. It doesn't mean anything, and what it means is wouldn't say what is the common thing at this moment at this time, or the common idea or ideal, and that can
Yeah.
change like that. It just can change, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
once you realize that there really is no normal,
Yeah.
you become adaptable. And like I said, for you, you learned your independence. Like I said, you're confident, quiet maybe, but you're confident. I think your confidence
Yeah.
came
But
from
I'm,
that time.
oh, definitely. But it came mostly from the summers, not the winter.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
fun. When I remember my childhood, I remember the summers. I mean, I do remember some of the winter. We had a nice time, but um, the
It was
things
meh.
where I really stepped up and learned things, and plus had the support of this huge extended family. I mean, I was so lucky. We didn't have a lot of money, but we sure had grandparents, and you knew where your grandparents and your great grandparents came from, and your uncles on the island behind you, and grandparents are there, and just very, very lucky. But so that gave me that resilience. That's why the book's called Grounded by Granite, because this rock that we call the front rock, it's a big piece of granite that slopes down into the water and drops off. And mom and dad chose our island, which was given to them for a wedding present. Um, they chose it for that front rock. It's a good place to learn to swim. It was like a swimming pool. It went down, the granite slopes in, makes it shallow, gets deeper, and then it drop off into what the kids call the black water. But that granite gave not just me, my family, all the kids in my family, that grounding. You know.
Note to self: Patty even tougher than I thought she was. Gotcha. Um, well, no, because I say it like that because again, I get where your confidence comes from. The reason those events stick out, like it's like my more uncomfortable times. Because in those moments, you figure out what you really are. You learn what you can achieve. You learn what you can accomplish.
Yep.
Right? That's what you learn. And
Mhm.
whether you succeed, like this is my case, success and failure are relative. It's that impact where you can see what you're doing, creating a result. Right? Oh my gosh, I can do this. Oh my gosh, I could like it gives you that esteem. It's like, oh shit, I can do anything. Right? And once you
Mhm.
have that nailed
Yeah.
down, right? You're fearless. I'm not. Well, okay, that's a lie. You can handle your fear,
Yeah.
right? That
No,
that that.
I have never been confident or fearless, but I
Yeah,
guess I knew somehow that I could. I don't know. I've never been confident or
I
fearless.
wouldn't say fear. No, fearless for no, but confident or you have again. Maybe I'm. If you feel like I'm buttering you up too much, just let me know. I'll stop.
I will.
But yeah. Or hell, just take it. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. But you you had freelancing is very much a game of self belief,
Oh
right?
God, yes,
You know that
yes,
no, like that is the heart of the game.
yeah,
Once you understand that, you can succeed.
yeah,
Because much like you, that first year when I was freelancing, I was like, "Oh my god, what the fuck am I doing?" Right? And
yeah.
then and there's that feeling in the back. What if I mess up and go back? Last year I ended up going to a factory in Windsor for all of 3 days. I did nothing wrong. Like this, like there was I did some temp work and I was just looking for just something steady to do. Now, I'm not going to lie and say that a couple of the jobs I didn't really give a shit because that would be lying. I really didn't give a shit. But the last job, but it wasn't. It was more along the lines that you're just old enough when you realize if you're not going to give me the training and the proper tools to succeed, I'm not going to try to succeed. I'm no longer in that mode of trying to go that extra mile to try to impress anybody. I'm just going to do the best I can, and I'm not going to worry about it. That's just where I'm at in my life. Good, bad, or indifferent. That's where I'm at. So the last place I went to, and this was just when I just realized I just got to go back to it, is I worked there for 3 days, and they just let me go. They said I was a bad worker, but I was thinking about everything I did. I did everything they told me to do. It wasn't like I didn't do it or wouldn't do it, or like I did everything I was asked to do. So if I did everything I was asked to do, then they're letting me go. I just took that as a sign from above that you ain't cut up for this life no more, boy. You got to make it on your own.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I took it as. And that very first week, that was the first week I broke ground. That was the very first week I broke ground. It would be a while before I did it again, but it was the first week I did it because it's just that confidence of you can do this, and you really can do this, and that's really the whole of the secret. And that's a head game. That's a real big head game.
Huge. Yeah. I remember, like you say, the first year of freelancing, it was longer than that for me. I mean, it took me a long time to realize that if I sent a pitch to somebody and I got a no, that it wasn't necessarily my writing or me. It was maybe that didn't fit their magazine or whatever that week at the time. It wasn't that I was useless or stupid or a bad writer or anything, but that's what you think at first.
Yeah.
It's very hard, freelancing.
Oh, yeah.
But then when you establish a relationship with a few editors, and you can give more informal pitches, and it keeps coming. I mean, it's still hard. Writing a book is writing a book is hard in that it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And then you get scared when you send it to the editor, and then you get scared when you send it out for endorsements. But the scary sections are smaller and shorter than the long process. It's not quite as constant. But there's more, the stakes are higher when you finally do put things out. But yeah.
So,
it's if I don't do it, no, it's not going to happen. If you don't stick your stuff out there, nothing will happen.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, what I've learned is I give myself one draft to basically screw up as much as I want. Just, what? This is going to suck. Fuck it. I'm going to have some fun. Right. So I remember my first ever assignment in kindergarten. I still remember it. Is you take the marbles and you dip them in paint and you just let them roll around in the box. I'm sure you've done something similar yourself because it's a very common exercise. It taught me a very valuable lesson. You can still make a beautiful thing out of marbles and paint because it's a really cool little effect, right? And that's it's a beautiful thing. So you just let yourself screw. It's like you are free to let this roll wherever you want it to. It will still turn out beautiful. It's actually a very profound lesson. So for the first one, I'm a baby without a diaper. I'm pooping all over the place. I'm gonna throw it and see what sticks to the draft. Then now the second draft, I'm gonna clean it up and polish it, and I'm gonna use a more appropriate metaphor, right? I'm gonna make it actually look like resembling some kind of structure and thing, so that my editor doesn't beat me. But I mean, it's one of those things where it's like if you give yourself permission. This illustration was my big fear, right? It was like, well, what if I suck? And then finally there was an echo in my brain. So what if you suck? Have fun.
That's the thing. So yeah, what's the worst thing that could happen? That's what I try to ask myself. I send this out. What's the worst thing that could happen? Nobody responds or they don't want it. Well, yeah, then I'll send it somewhere else or I'll do something different. But if you don't send it out at all, nothing happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, so once I realized that, it's like, okay, shit. Like one of my buddies, he looked at me, I envy you so much. You don't even worry about how bad you are. It's like, yeah, it's fantastic. I don't have to worry, right? Because it sounds like terrible at first, but no, it's like you don't worry about it. Now, doesn't mean I don't want to work on craft and get better, but there's also something to be said about just practicing. even in the event, even in the form of practice, you're going to get better. To what
Yeah.
degree it varies. Like there comes a point when you do need instruction, when you do need an outside voice to look at your work, or where you do need to evolve because you can't do it all yourself. But
Yeah.
at the same time, right? At the same time, you have to you treat this like you can do it. You treat this like, you know what? If I practice, even if it sucks now, eventually it's going to get better by default. Like
Yeah.
the default setting of sucking is that eventually you do get better. That's the auto default. It's not even like so. If you have that in your head, like and then the way I'm putting it is silly as hell, and then it's on purpose. But if you have that in your head, it takes the pressure off of trying to be good, because good
Yeah.
is the enemy, not making a quality product. That's what you should be striving for. But good is a very
Yeah.
relative word. What is good, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. What is good? No,
And you said there's times you have to, like I found going to writing conferences and talking to other people and reading lots of magazine articles and reading stuff I wanted to write really helped. I'm not sure how consciously it was, but almost subconsciously I realized it. And then when I started to, I read one book a couple of years ago that had a whole bunch of different time changes in it. And like I said, in the new book, I've done that, the time changes. And 5 years ago, never would have thought of doing that. I'm such a linear person. I was very chronological in the way I presented the first book with a few flashbacks, but I took a lot of them out. You can't have too many. So it was really interesting to try a totally new format and then, put that together. And I thought, same thing. I'm going to send this out and people might say, oh my God, I can't follow that. It doesn't work. I was really afraid, but apparently it works. So,
so it's my 10th rule, believe it or not. So I have 10 rules to success now. When I last saw I had 8, I added 2 more. Rule 9 was,
okay. Yeah.
Rule 9 is never fall in love with an outcome. Is when we screw
Yeah.
up.
Mm-hmm.
That is actually when
Yeah.
we legitimately screw up as a species. It's not.
Yeah.
If we become so attached to an idea, it sucks when we're wrong, because it like, if I'm open to the concept that, okay, I believe in flying green spaghetti monsters. We'll just say that they're real, but I'm not in love with the
Mm-hmm.
outcome of green flying spaghetti monsters. And you go to meet Josh. Listen, did you have some funny cigarettes? And I'll be like, it's possible, but hear me out. And right. And I go through my spiel and go, okay, that wasn't flying spaghetti monsters. That was just grass. I don't know what you saw, but it was a grass. Okay, fine, cool, whatever. I'm open to it. I'm amiable to it. I'm not actually like going to defend my idea to the point to the death. Now, but if I believe that there are giant spaghetti monsters, or like giant green spaghetti monsters floating in space, and I absolutely 100% am convinced of this, you're never going to convince me otherwise. There's no way you can do it unless you'd have to
Well,
legit.
and you limit yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
By expecting only one thing and hoping for only one thing, you
Yeah.
limit what are the other possibilities that you never imagined.
Exactly.
And I'm finding that out now a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah. I the news media taught me that. I no longer like I'm sorry, this is where I am a cynical fuck. I no longer like, I look at news. I no longer just get my information there. I actually what I've started doing is I've gone into government reports, actual scientific stuff. It's like I don't even read the headlines anymore. I just go, okay, I'm going to read my data. I'm not going to fall in love with my own conclusion, but I'll make a thought, right? And that will be my thought,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because if I go with what I feel, a lot of the media says today, it's just one idea, and it's the same idea drilled in so many different directions. And that's kind of where I've
Mhm.
gone to with it. And that tells me
Yeah.
that if the outcome is not this, I'm going to be very resistant to a new idea. That is terrible. That means I'll never see anything else. So,
Well, and journalism has changed too. When
oh,
I went
absolutely.
to journalism school in 2006, certainly still they were hanging on to the idea if you're doing a newspaper article, you do not put your own opinion in it. You must show all sides. And I think
Absolutely.
there's a lot of that been lost. And
Yep.
that's with formal journalism. But informal, all the stuff you see online all the time, it's all opinionated and often not based on,
Yeah.
research, science, whatever. It's crazy. So
Yeah.
it's not even the most, I would say, traditional, maybe respected journalists that write, say, for the Globe or the CBC. It's they're not as good at showing all sides and delving deep enough.
They've
I don't think
well,
anymore.
they've lost that ability to do so, and that's not just here. It's any legacy. I would call it what I would call legacy media, right? Anything that's like the Globe, the Mail, the New York Times, like
Yeah.
like that's newspapers. If you want to go television, television's even worse, right? Right. So right.
Part of it is too. They're expected to have shorter articles, shorter sound bites,
That's
because
part
of
of
the
it.
attention span. I don't know. They just don't
Uh,
seem to follow up and make it
I
thorough enough.
what I this is like this was going on when I was taking journalism back in 99 2000. One of the things that was talked about is who pays for the advertising because of it.
Yeah.
Or no,
Yeah.
because that's it's a legitimate thing. If you get
Yep.
a specific if you get a specific source paying for all your advertising, you're
Yeah.
gonna be favorable to that source. It's just
Yeah.
it's in your best interest, right? Right. So that's the and especially in the United States, that's the thing. Now, what's up here is it's our government. It's all about the credibility of the government. Again, I'm an atheist when it comes to politics, so I don't have any real faith in that one way or the other. But that's the easy example. But it doesn't matter. Like even religious beliefs or even sports team beliefs. Hey, even that can be the same thing. If you fall in love with an idea or an outcome to such a degree that you will not see anything else, that is when
Mhm.
you are more likely to make a catastrophic mistake. And that's rule 9. Whereas if you're
Oh, yeah.
detached,
Yeah.
yeah, whereas if you're detached from all outcomes,
Mhm.
right? That doesn't mean you're going to be right. In fact, you're still going to be wrong quite a bit of the time, but you're open to the idea of change. And that's a much
Yeah.
better that is a much better mindset to be in. Look,
Yeah.
I'm going to look stupid plenty of times for the rest of my life, and I'm good with that. But I'm also going to be open to the possibility that I could be wrong and that things can change. Always going to be open to that
How
possibility.
how boring if things didn't change.
Oh, absolutely. But some people, but so I know, like again, I look at some things. And I look at some people when they get like curmudgeonly and older, and like, it's always been this way. And I think of Nietzsche. Just because things have always been this to me doesn't mean they'll always be this way. And that's just me. I'm good with that. Rule 10. This is rule 10. I think you're gonna like rule 10. If all else fails, if you're not sure what to do, have fun.
Excellent.
It's a good rule, right? It's a very simple. That
Yeah.
one's easy. That one's
Yeah.
easy because a lot of people when they're trying to figure out what their course of action is going to be, sometimes we get bombarded with a myriad of good choices or a myriad of bad choices.
Mhm.
Either way, you have a myriad you got to kind of sift through. A lot of people try to go, well, what's the lesser of two evils? Which isn't always a bad way to go. In fact, in some ways,
Mm.
it's a good way to go. Most of the time, but once in a while, it's like, well, what's the silliest path? What's the most fun I can have? And the thing about that is, if I can find that choice, if I make that choice, I still
Mhm.
might, again, going back to rule 9, I still might be screwing it up. But at least I'm having a good time doing it. Right?
Yeah.
And
It's a very
there
good
is
attitude.
yeah, it's so my favorite writers conference thing to do is so
Mhm.
I will be doing it when Word and Words Collide is actually a real festival again in 2023, is
Mhm.
the Dr. Seuss off. There is nothing like watching grown authors doing Dr. Seuss in reading out Dr. Seuss in different ways, whether it's an operatic sing along or whether it's
Ah,
a Russian
I've never
accent.
seen it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've done it. I did it for the first so it started off as a gag between me and Vanessa Cardui. We did a Dr. Seuss off with Fox and Socks. It was like the tongue twister one. And
Mhm.
and it was fun. It's like let's just try it. Yeah, just try it for like as an actual event year 2. Small crowd, but the crowd had a lot of fun. The next
Mhm.
year, it was packed. It was just stupidly pack
Interesting. Yeah.
because it was fun. I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to teach you anything because you go to a conference, right? There's a lot of great information there, but there's also that point in the show where it's like, you know what? I just can't, like, I can't absorb anymore right now.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you get to that point, right? So do you know
Yeah.
what's great? If there's an actual like recess style panel in the middle of the show, because what
You
happens
know,
there?
I was just going over my choices for this Word on the Lake in Sorrento
Yeah,
conference this weekend. And there was a point where I went da 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 da. I went this workshop, and then I thought, oh my god, I need a panel in here. That's exactly what they did, was put a panel in partway through the day. I think it's first thing in the afternoon. I just thought I can't do any more of that. I just need something
yeah,
different. A bunch of people. Yeah, yeah, it's very smart actually on
yeah.
the part of
It's
the organizers.
yeah. So for me, it's because it works.
Yeah,
Because you don't right. Look, the one thing, and I think you'll agree with this, as a principal, probably the best thing about school was recess. Not for the reasons people necessarily think either.
yeah,
It's good because the thing about recess was it got all that energy out. If there's an
yeah,
overload on anybody, everybody got to take a little quick break. And that break
yeah,
got so much energy out. Now, my favorite recess was the lunch break recess because you just would play for like 40, 45 minutes. But that all said, right? That kind of thing always is important. When we became adults, for some silly reason, we stopped with the damn recess.
yeah,
We shouldn't.
yeah.
We really, like, seriously.
But
I don't know.
oh, I just went. What we did in my last school, Lord Roberts Elementary in the West End in Vancouver, we would
Yeah,
dance at assemblies. You want to see 600 kids dancing to "We Are Family," Sister Sledge, or that's how we would end the last assembly of the year. "We Are Family," and the staff would be all around the outside, and the kids would get up and dance. Or "Respect," Aretha's "Respect." We used to use that a lot too, and we'd a bunch of the staff. I led this, of course. Dark glasses and Blues Brothers attire.
right.
Everything dark, and then the big shades. And
Did you
we would
sing?
have RESPECT, and I mean the kids loved it. It was so much fun, but
Yeah,
because they saw us being silly and having fun.
and that's the thing. Like when you guys are silly too, like that. There's a connection made,
Yeah,
right? You're giving the kids
absolutely.
permission.
Yeah,
You're giving the kids permission to not. The cool thing about school, and although I'm sure as a teacher, occasionally you hated this, the obnoxious student in the classroom. Why are they being obnoxious? It's not because they're
precisely. Why? That's the thing you got to look at.
mhm,
Where did
right.
it come
Why?
from? Yeah, yeah.
But I think the best answer I've heard. Now there are other answers in general for
Mhm.
this, but the best answer I think I've ever heard is it's because the student feels safe here. And what I've learned about
Yeah.
what
Mhm.
I've learned about relationships in general in my limited dating experience, right, is it's not when you're all lovey-dovey that you're actually. I mean, there are those moments, and those moments are awesome. It's the moments when you can actually just be yourself and not worry about it. I mean, sometimes you are obnoxious. Sometimes you are an asshole. Sometimes you're incredibly loving. Sometimes you're incredibly generous because you can share all aspects of yourself
Yeah,
within this
yeah,
environment.
yeah,
You're safe. You feel safe and you feel trusted and you feel valued.
yeah.
The obnoxious student feels safe, trusted, and
Mhm.
valued, right?
And you know what? Often they're trying to tell you something,
Oh, sure.
and
Absolutely. No,
you got to listen, because kids don't start by being obnoxious.
no.
There's something going on,
Usually,
and
usually.
they need you to listen and
Yeah,
find out what's going on with them.
yeah,
Not punish, not throw them out of the class, not expel them, not suspend them. Talk to them. I had a rocking chair in my office, and I'd have the kids sit in the rocking chair, and if they were upset, they could rock for a while, and then when they felt like talking to me, they could talk, and
yeah,
then you find out what's really happening.
yeah.
You know?
You give them that place to feel like they can be themselves, and it will happen. Like you
Yeah,
can fix the
yeah,
majority of those
And that you
problems, right?
will listen. You will
Yeah.
listen and not yell. I had kids come in at first, and the principal before me, I at another school. The kid would come in and sit in the rocking chair and be really nervous, and I'd say, "Well, what are you so nervous about? Well, aren't you going to yell at me?" I said, "Well, if I did, would you listen?" They'd say, "No." Well, probably not. So why don't you sit there and we'll talk when you're ready? I don't know.
No,
It's not that hard.
no. I think my favorite line about yelling at people came from one of my last bosses at Pure Later, which was I was working in Vancouver on the AM dock. He was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, listen, can you go in and help this person out?" And it's like, "Don't worry, don't say anything, don't yell at them or anything." I was like, I told him, it's like, "Dude, I'm not paid enough to yell at people here." And he looked at me with a straight face. Me too.
Mm-hmm.
That was my manager, my boss, right? And that
Yeah.
was no, like he
Good.
was great. Like the afternoon shift when I planned to set a certain way. I would go to afternoons at a certain point in time so I could get out of the company faster. But
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could have stayed longer on that AM doc because that was a good crew, and that manager was a really good manager. Like he really, really was. I actually right before I left, I had a couple guys from the night crew who were working day. I actually told them to send a message for me. It's like, listen, you guys are a great crew. If I hadn't been planning on quitting, right, I would have stuck around on that shift a little bit longer. You guys are a good group. I had my own plans. Otherwise, I would have stayed longer. I just need to do this because the afternoon shift was how do I put this delicately? We'll just say it, a shit show. It was kind of a shit show with how it was being run, and it was just like, and not necessarily, and in all fairness, not entirely the management there's fault. They were very short staffed in a lot of even before the pandemic. There were a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things going on in the company that shouldn't have been in Vancouver. And I'm not going to bury anything because I'm not here to have cheerleaders, lawyers come after me and go, "I'm an evil." No, it isn't that. It just there were issues with how they were running things, and they were getting away with it just fine, and they were good with it. And I saw it for what it was, and I was like, "Well, I'm fucking getting out of here anyway. I don't care." It's one of those issues where you just realize that um, you yelling doesn't accomplish much unless I mean, don't get me wrong, we're all human. We all have our moments where it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. But um yeah, like by and large, when you're dealing with people, it's really about talking and listening. And it doesn't matter who it is. Most people, that's all
Yep.
they really need.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Probably should do a little bit more talking of your latest book. So I'm going to ask this. So obviously you enjoy writing these books. I'm not saying that, but um, I'm just curious. Do you have a fiction story in you? I'm very curious about that.
I don't know, but I didn't think I had two memoirs in me either. So I do have, I do have a plan for a third book. It's not fiction.
Yeah, no,
It it may sound like it, but no, the third one is, the first one is Nepal one day at a time.
mhm.
The third one is going to be Nepal. It's never too late, and it's going to be like trekking and adventuring for people over 65. And that's what I remember in the email. I mentioned the Great Himalayan Trail.
I remember that.
So
No,
yeah, so
I
that
remember that
there's this
totally.
trail from one end of Nepal to the other. It's 1,500 k, and my husband and I have done maybe almost maybe a quarter of it, maybe a third of it already. There's a high route over a lot of high passes. They're not technical, but they're high passes, and then there's a lower route through villages, a more cultural route. And so we're thinking that that we'll do that maybe in 2023, and with the occasional stop in a nice hotel to do laundry and drink wine, and then yeah,
Hey,
we'll put that together. It'll be at least 3 months it would take.
first off, you do. Hey, Patty,
Yes.
you're a grown ass woman. You want to drink wine and laundry in the middle of a major hiking trail? God bless you. Go for it. And if you're right here,
Absolutely. It's the only way to do it.
yeah, it's right.
I
Hey,
mean, oh, we've done treks that are about 25 days long before. So you're just linking a bunch of them together. Only you're taking a break in between.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
honestly, like I said,
it's totally doable. We're both lucky to be healthy, and it's kind of a goal to train for. You have to train, and
yeah, I believe you.
you know, so we'll see. But so that's kind of the next book off in my cloud. Fiction, I
Tougher
don't
than
know.
I thought.
Well, we'll see if it happens. But
No, I don't doubt it will happen. It may not happen in 2023. I mean,
well, I
I
can't
think
wait.
I think the world is veering away from a pandemic response and more of an into the endemic responses to this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're veering into that more and more. So I don't see us going back into a lockdown like phase
God, I hope
again.
not.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think it. To be honest with you, I don't think people would take it. I think at this particular point in the ball game,
Yeah, it
people are
is.
done.
It's
People,
very hard.
yeah, no,
People have
it's
had,
done. I think people are just done. I
yeah.
think that's it. You can only do that for so long. At some point, you got to
Mhm.
go back and live into the world again. That's kind of where we're at. We all want to get to that point, and
Yeah.
like, go back to something I said earlier. Life's always been dangerous, right? People are
Hmm.
just. I mean, it's the reality of the world. So you
Yeah,
can't.
you have to plan your risks
Yeah,
and
exactly.
calculate your
Yeah,
risks,
that's
and
right. You just work with the best information you have and hope for the best. And like I said, none of us are going to make it out of here. So I mean,
yes.
there's no point in while you're here. You might as well do stuff. That's kind of how I see it. But so
Well,
I totally.
when you get to my age, you don't want to wait around not doing some stuff, because there's going
I
to be a time when we can't walk that far,
I
you
see
know.
see see see
So
I don't see that with
we
you.
want to do those things while we can. So
Yeah, no,
well,
totally.
we're physically able. Yeah.
I see. I don't think you're going to lose your physical. Not for a long time yet. Like you work hard at it.
Well,
Like
hopefully. Oh yeah, we do. But you never know.
oh
There
no,
are
no,
surprises
things
and everything. So
life
yeah.
life will surprise you. I'm not saying that, but if I were to add a little bit of more optimism into this little like right how long you have here, it's this. You have a reason to keep going. You're still exploring. You're
Oh,
still doing.
absolutely.
You're, yeah.
Gotta have purpose.
Yeah.
If you don't have purpose, it's really, really hard.
This is Jag Tress. Jag, this is Patty. Patty is legitimately a badass. She really, really is. We were talking about her like doing her treks to Nepal. You missed a really good conversation earlier about how she grew up. Like she is legitimately a tough woman in the best ways. I have made her laugh many times on this episode too. It's been good.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're very good at that. That's good.
I have learned the art of self-deprecation. It's important because I do have a big ego and I need to keep it in check every so often. But in your case, no, like because you have uh because you have a like you guys are still seeking life. Like you're seeking to live. And because you're seeking living, I think you're going to last a longer time. I obviously sooner or later, death, God, whatever you believe in is going to say, nope, you're coming home. But
Yeah.
but I don't think you're going to physically deteriorate. And even mentally, I don't think like maybe when you're like 90, 95, maybe, but will you give a shit at 95? I don't know. Or maybe you're still going to be. I've seen people even into their like early 90s if they're active, if they have
Oh yeah.
motivation, they
Hmm.
are still again, they might need more naps, but that's okay. Naps rule. Like right? So
Naps
right.
are good. No,
Yeah.
no, you're right. But if you have purpose and you have goals,
Yeah.
and you enjoy challenges and enjoy other people, yeah, maybe I will write a fiction book sometime. That was
Yeah.
actually, it's funny because with the first book, the Nepal book, a friend of mine is retired, but she was a professional editor. And one of the first things she said when she read that book was, "Your dialogue is really good. Have you ever written? Why don't you think about writing fiction?" And I thought, oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You never know. It might happen.
Listen. You write a fiction. You like. I still gotta get your first book. I'm gonna make that. I don't know when I'm going to see you in person. I don't know if you're going to come to When Words Collide or if you're going to do something like that down the road. If you do, what I'll do is I'll definitely buy it there. I'm going to have you deface it with your autograph. I hope you're okay. Right, right, right.
When, when
Dialogue is
words
off.
when
Susan
is
is
the words collide? When
It's
words
Cal.
collide?
It's usually in August. Now it depends. Obviously
Uh,
depends on yeah. If you're listen, if you're kicking ass in the world somewhere, I am not going to hold it against you. I just wave every so often, right?
yeah.
Right. So I, on the other hand, I am very much in the process of, like I said, I'm going on my next adventure, which is, permanent freelance lifestyle. So I can do my own version of crazy shit because I can't wait to get to that point. I'm at that point. Again, something I recognize very much because I had my own little brush with my mortality a long time ago was the fact that nothing's guaranteed. Nothing. So
Absolutely. Yep.
yeah. So you got to make sure that if you're doing one of two things. This is a Stephen King quote I truly do believe in. You're either busy living or you're busy dying. I got too much
Good.
shit left to
That's
do in
good.
this. Yeah, right. I got too much shit left I want to do. I had the opportunity at 25. I wanted to walk away from this life. I actually was given that choice. But I realized there was so much shit left I had to do and so many things I needed to do that I chose to stick around. I still got too much shit to do. So I got to go do those things because that's how
Mhm.
I'm wired. You, I feel are the same way. The difference is, I think the cool thing about where you're at is you're still this. I hope I have your sense of discovery even at your age. I hope I have it still then. I never want to think I have all the answers, and I love that you go
Oh
out there and you
God, no.
challenge yourself.
Yeah. And I just there's so much to look forward to. I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah. No,
That's
that's what that,
yeah.
and that's why you're a badass. See, that is why right there. You keep going forward, and that's awesome. Like legitimately, that is incredible. So rock on to you. Also rock on to your husband because he
I
has
was
to have
gonna
that.
say, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because
absolutely. Yeah.
because honestly, he'd have to have it too, or you two wouldn't be together, right? It's just that's just like he's got that
Yeah.
same zest. So
Yeah. And he was always he was a mountain guide before he was a teacher, like full mountain guide in the Rockies. And so he really encouraged me to like I was, very physically fit as a kid and then not so much in the party era, blah blah blah, early teaching. And then I met him and went back and I did a marathon and then he encouraged me to do triathlon and I did triathlon and ended after 4 years doing a half Ironman just because that's all the time I had and then I became a principal. But yeah, it's I was too busy working. I was very myopic when I was working.
no,
But I
I can
it,
totally respect that. I like you you stop for the best of reasons. I had too much other shit to do, but yes, I
yeah,
could. I totally could kick this Iron Woman's course ass if I had more time. That is the coolest.
yeah, I could have won. Yeah, no, no.
Yeah, no, I totally believe it. I totally believe it, and I am sure Jag listening to this is laughing her ass off right now because I like it's totally like, yeah. So this is the kind of guests I have on my show. These kind of it's like sometimes I'm not gonna say I admit this. There are moments when I'm doing the interviews like why am I here? Because I kind of feel like the inadequate one because it's like you guys do such
No.
incredible stuff. Like legit, like you do incredible things, and it's like why am I here? Oh wait, that's why. But kudos. Like honestly, like kudos to you that
But
like you
anyhow, sorry. The whole point of that was that I have this husband who encourages me, you know,
yeah. And he's
and
awesome.
always did, and to do things with. So that's really important. Yeah. We both have a real sense of purpose and things we want to do still. So
So
long
my
list.
so my grandmother started dating again in her late 70s. Her current boyfriend is yeah, oh yeah. No, it's awesome. It's
Woo!
awesome. Yeah. So I love bringing this story up because I've seen those two together and it is magic. Reinhardt, his name's Reinhardt, and my grandmother, and I watched those two. They're like little kids. My favorite story. I was living in their house for a brief period for the summer of last year. Right again,
Mhm.
staying it, figuring out my shit. I'm going to make a point when I get back to Calgary actually to thank everybody that's helped me along the way because I've grown, but I've had people that have allowed me to grow, and I am nothing but grateful for that. And the thing about that is, so I watch these two. I'm helping them with the house, like the outside the house. He gets like this grass on his shoe, right? And he starts talking to her. It's like her name's Barbara. It's like, hey Barb, I got like this grass on her shoe. So what do you want me to do about that? Hose it down. And they were just having such a silly. They're in their 80s, right? And I had such a hoot watching that. It's like I actually is the only time in my life I've been envious of my grandmother because I could see how much joy she had. And I
Mm,
realized how much she's earned this too. Like this is a piece of genuine happiness. And it is such a precious thing. And I
mhm.
think I look at her and I'm like, this is the way to do it. And Reinhardt, to his credit, is a very, very amazingly warm human being. I am very happy for both of them. So that's the thing, right? So I look at the like the it's never too late thing. Legit,
Mm.
it never is. There is always hope for everybody, right? Right? Even though it might seem far away in the moment, just keep going to whatever it is you desire, and you'll get there, whatever that is.
Well, and you'll surprise yourself and go beyond it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or you go to places you never.
Never
Oh,
imagined.
oh. I'm sorry, Jag. I, but I'm so sorry. I really am. I didn't mean to hit that nerve with you. I get here. Bring to you, Jag. Big hug. Big hug. Right?
Sweet.
Yeah. But like I said,
Well,
that's
and I'll just say one last thing about the new book.
yeah.
Part of that is how lucky, obviously, that your friend is, that you are, that I am to have known my grandparents, um, and to have that be part of your life. I mean, if it's a good knowing. I mean, I had wonderful grandparents, and
I'll,
they were
I'll,
they
I'll,
were a little Victorian and a little reserved, but extremely supportive and kind and great role models. And I was just really lucky with that. And I grew up with them every summer. I learned to row and when I was about 6 in my grandma's rowboat. You know, and she was
oh,
very, very patient. So
yep. Yeah, I lost my grandfather about 5 years ago, Jag. I lost him, so I know. Actually, 6 years ago now. Yeah, yeah.
mm,
Okay, that's cool. But listen. So I'm gonna tell a. It's gonna start sad. It's gonna start. The great. The worst thing for me about the pandemic was my grandmother. I had one grandmother in Detroit, and I was in Windsor. It hurt. It really
oh,
hurt.
yeah,
It hurt. I was there and I couldn't see her. Right? Yeah. It like it hurt. I cannot because she is legitimately 15. To put this in Canadian terms, she was 20 kilometers from where I was. That's it. She was within. I could bike that. I don't want to bike that at this point. I'm not in that good a shape, but I could do it. But because she happens to be in this invisible line that's imaginary, I
yeah,
couldn't see her.
yes, yeah.
Right? I couldn't see her. So anyway, I get this is gonna sound bad. It really wasn't. It's gonna end positive, I promise. She was admitted to the hospital for pneumonia, like about a week ago. And it's my grandma in Detroit. So I call. But thanks to Facebook, my grandmother at 80 is playing with Facebook and she's showing off. My uncle has his kids. So my grandmother is mama on my dad's side is the ultimate parent. She raised me. She raised like my dad and my uncle, her brothers. She is
Hmm.
legitimately the ultimate parent. She is at her most loving with kids. It is amazing to watch her. So so every once in a while I go watch her Facebook board because she's talking about my uncle's kids and it's cool because I say this in a generous way. I'm kind of like her third son, but I'm no longer her favorite grandkids. It's them, and that's the way it should be. I'm not even like
Yeah.
yeah, right. So it's fun to me because what I've seen with her is I got to talk to her. I got to talk to her at a few days after the hospital. She couldn't talk the first day when she got back, really. So I waited a couple days, called her, and we had a Facebook chat, so we actually could see each other. And yeah, it was almost like old times. And like I said, like my grandmother is a big part of who I am. Like she's a very big, like
Mhm.
that one in particular, because she raised me as like a mom as she did a grandmother. So, um, yeah, a lot of her good qualities I got from her. I have some of her bad qualities, not all of them, but I do have some of them, right? I swear like a sailor, just like her. I do a few other things just like her. She just swears in Maltese. It's the only difference. Like, so you won't understand that she's swearing, but if you do understand her language, you just will be like, "Oh, that's bad. That's real bad." Yeah, I know. It's like she's like, yeah. My family can literally can literally curse gravel, like crack gravel with their curses, and my grandmother's the originator of that. But I love them. Yeah, your grandparents are they're the best because they're not your parents. They're responsible for you, but they can be more your friend than your
Yeah,
parents can be, because your parents have to sometimes be the tyrant. Sometimes,
yeah,
right? You
yeah.
have to. You have to. It's the only way to make sure the kids, um, discipline's good. Grandparents don't have to discipline you. They can
Mhm.
give you ice cream. They can be your friend. They can do silly stuff with you because
Mhm.
they can send you back to the parents after they rile you up and, like, go, "Here, you deal with them," at the when it's all said and done, right?
Yep.
And they also laughing at their kids now because their kids all the stupid stuff that their kids did to them, now they're getting to watch their grandkids do to their parents. It's like, "Oh, this is beautiful. Keep going, this is
Mhm.
beautiful."
Mhm.
That's how yes, the human species has got a weird sort of brain damage that way. But all I have to say is that, yeah, grandparents, like your grandparents, are they shape you. They can really shape your life, and if
Mhm.
you let them
Mhm.
in,
Mhm.
it can be great. Like again, and speaking to my grandmother in Windsor that I was living, like I got to know her later in my life due to my family circumstances. Sweet woman, one of the sweetest, and probably
Mhm.
where I get some of my open minded and like let's just go with the flow kind of stuff. I get that from her. It's kind of fun to watch. So
Mhm. Well, and the grandparents that are mostly highlighted in my book are my father's side. On my mother's side, when my grandfather died, he left $100 to each of his grandchildren. And I was 10, and my parents said, "You can spend your $100 on whatever you want, but don't squander it. Buy something that you'll remember, something important that you'll remember Grandpa by." And so I bought a typewriter and declared I'd be a writer. And I don't know where that came from, but that's when it happened, you know?
that's awesome. That's awesome.
And also, he was actually a United Church minister,
Okay.
also a very outdoorsy guy, but he he um, he really cared for people in a very honest and sincere way. And I think part of my teaching, the way I was a teacher and a principal, is from him. So
Well,
yeah.
just like a lot of people forget, like especially again, we live in a very jaded age with a lot of these big structures. But
Mm-hmm.
right, but back in your time when you were a kid, these structures were simpler and probably
Oh,
and sincerely a lot more honest. Like a lot people had the best of intentions. You were in those positions because you cared. You do not like right. I'm
mm-hmm.
sure there's always a few. I love you. Here's my collection plate. That has always existed
No,
somewhere.
yeah, that
Yeah,
there was some
yeah.
of that too.
Oh, sure,
For
yeah.
definitely,
But for the most part, right? You had people that genuinely wanted to make a difference. You had people that wanted to
yeah.
bring people in God's
Well,
life,
and
like in
that's what
that
he was
time.
like. Yeah.
And he sounds like one of them. And the impression I got with you when you were a principal was, right? Yeah, you couldn't save every kid or you couldn't help every kid, but you could try, and that's what you did, right?
Yeah, yeah, you got me. Yeah, yeah. My husband and I are both like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm losing my voice. I think I better.
oh yeah, all right. Let's. I was actually about to say it too. So this is how you should say it. So Patti, I think we have an interview here. What do you think?
I think we do.
All right. Next time you come, what we'll do is we will play we will figure out the system a little bit better, because
Yes.
we'll just do it a little when you're more open, when you're like, I don't got time for this shit, which I get this too, because sometimes this shit's a pain in the ass. Folks, there was going to be a bit of a presentation tonight, and the next time Patti comes on the show, I'm assuming you'd like to come back, because I would love to have you back.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So assuming she likes to come back, we'll actually do a proper slide and demonstration, and we'll be a little bit more centric on that. But this was a great little chat, and so we'll just do the final wrap up. So this is the last thing you really have to say. So Patti, talk to me about your book, and where can people find you?
Okay, the book is called Grounded by Granite. The cover looks like this. See, whoops, the
There it
little
is.
kid in the middle is me in the canoe,
Yes.
family canoe. The first day we went to our island. Grounded
That
by
is awesome.
Granite, a coming of age tale of family connection and personal resilience, framed by summers on a remote island in the Canadian Shield. And there's a really nice endorsement on the front, because I got up the nerve to ask the guy who is the guru of cottage books in Ontario. His name is Roy McGregor. He's written about 12. His grandfather was the first ranger in Algonquin Park. Long history of cottaging. And his name is Roy McGregor, and this is what he wrote. Grounded by Granite is a delight, perfect for the cottage bookshelf. And other things on the back. So that's the new book. And it will be up on Amazon in about 3 days. They're just processing it right now. You can look on Amazon, and you can ask in bookstores in a few days too. So.
All right, one last thing. Well, first off, for listeners everywhere, if you are listening to this, the book's out. This is just for the people that are watching this or going to watch this later. So, one last place. Is there a place people can get a hold of you to talk to you?
Absolutely. My email is, well, you can put it up probably.
Yeah.
Patti Lefkos at shaw.ca.
You have a webpage?
Yeah. The web is PattiShalesLefkos.com.
Okay.
And it's easy to get in touch with me through that.
Yeah, so this is the one I'm going to
We'll
really
tell you
focus
more
on.
about both books and what they're for. Because the first book, 100% of the profits went to the kids in Nepal for education in Aprig Village. The second book, the present one, it'll be a percentage of, but money still goes to Nepal. We're still working on that.
That is super, super cool. I'm going to be doing, give me a second here. I'm looking for, where did it go? I'm a trained professional here, Patti. You can tell. On the stack too. Oh, no. Kickstarter is being evil with me right now. Hold on a second here. I'm going to start here, and I cannot find. I'm going to make sure next time I do this, it's like you, I don't have the same patience I once did. So it's like, I'll screw it up. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to make the announcement officially like this, and it'll be on my no, she really, no, I was not joking. I was not joking, Jay. She is legitimately an amazing person. You gotta look her up. She is incredible. Right. So
Thank you. There's a lot of incredible people out there.
this is true. But everybody's incredible, and everybody deserves a little bit of a moment of sun. I hope I live half the life you did. And I'm saying that as someone who has lived a very interesting life. Incredible. You've had an incredible journey. So for those people watching and listening, thank you for watching and listening. This first thing, that didn't quite work. I'm getting really good. I'm getting really good at this professional stuff. So I'm going to talk about first thing. I'm actually part of a Kickstarter. We mentioned this at the very beginning of the show. I have a short story and an illustration available coming out, in May. It starts in May. It's called On the Stack 2. And I am, like I said, an illustration and a short story by yours truly. It is going to start May 1st. Feel free. I'm going to have the link in the description because I failed to get the link here, but that's okay. Now I'm going to do this properly. I advertise. If you are someone that is an author looking for promotion for their book or to build content to advertise their book in a variety of places, I can build it for you. Check out my webpage, jpentelresco@wordpress.com/advertising services. You can see a little bit of what I do. You can see a little bit of stuff I've done. I'll do written copy, graphics, video, and audio for you for a variety of platforms you are on. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, for Patti, thank you, Patti, for coming onto the show. Thank you, everybody watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. I got a really cool one tomorrow. I got author Jessie Renee Gibbs is coming on tomorrow. It's going to be an hour earlier. Definitely take a look. Right. And this is from Jag. Yes, Jag, thank you for watching. And to the rest of you, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks for having me on.